Because the car was taken.
There's no such word. Listen to me. There's no such word as taken.
All right.
Family affair. Plaintiff Joshua Pritchard's foolish and vindictive protective order against his fiance's brother-in-law is full of twists and turns. Molly Nolan was weeping before they barely even got started.
What's your first name?
Molly.
Take a breath. Don't talk to her.
Usually, it takes a few minutes of grilling for someone in Judge Judy's courtroom to give in to the pressure. But since this case involved her fiancé suing her relatives, we can't say we blame her.
Was it Mr. Abrahamson's practice to go to the casino before you got the job there? Think before you answer the question, otherwise I bring Molly up, and Molly's not going to be happy if I bring her up.
Still, the judge expected calm and had Nolan collect herself long enough to give a statement. This set the stage for what was a very personal, dramatic, and ultimately ridiculous case. After the working over he got from the judge, it's unbelievable that Pritchard didn't start crying too.
If you were scared to go out of the house,
Yes.
what did you take a job for at a casino where you knew the defendant frequented?
Number 9. Liar Liar, License on Fire. Plaintiff Chris Pasquarella prepared an elaborate little story about how defendant Daniel Martinez, his soon-to-be brother-in-law, stole his rental car, which led to the car being impounded.
That's a really hard story to make up what he just made up. Do you understand? It's a very hard story. It's much easier to say he stole the keys to my car and the next thing I knew it was impounded.
Judge Judy had trouble believing his story from the beginning. While he tried feebly to plug up any holes she was poking in his story, the moment she called his partner to take the stand and witnessed her lie, he folded like a cheap accordion.
What is your father going to tell me?
Yes.
That he did?
Yes.
Fine. Let's get his phone number.
That's not necessarily true. Okay? It's not necessarily true. I had to...
Sit down. See how easy it is?
The truth was, he asked the defendant to drive the rental car, despite him not having a valid driver's license. Judge Judy treated this case like a game of chicken, practically daring Pasquarella to lie to her. He fell right into her trap, and she ate him for lunch.
Because the car was taken. Because the car was taken.
There's no such word. Listen to me. There's no such word as taken.
All right.
So let's start over.
Number 8. My God, she's got a knife! Neighbors Jaja Azikiwe and Lydia Wilson got into a dispute over loud music that quickly turned physical.
I looked out the door and I said, oh my God, she's got a knife.
Did you come back with a knife? That's a yes or a no?
Yes, I did.
We're barely a minute in when Wilson admits that the plaintiff's story about her having pulled a knife on him is true. She would go on to explain that she did this because she was scared of him.
If you were afraid of him, I don't understand. Why didn't you just go into your apartment, close your door, and call the police, call the management?
Immediately, Judge Judy asks why, if she was scared of him, she went out to confront him at all. This would become a recurring question throughout the case, which, let us tell you, got off to a rollicking start and never let up.
You had a temper attack, madam.
I didn't have a temper attack.
You didn't?
I mean, I was upset. I mean,
well, that's temper.
Number 7. A crazy request. Judge Judy immediately sussed out the lie that this defendant was telling.
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a long memory. If you're going to make up stories, you're going to look very foolish and it's going to be very unpleasant. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
She told the judge under oath that she only asked her mother and stepfather to watch a friend's baby for a few hours. But this was a lie, because what she actually asked was insane and she knew it. The judge got her to admit she was asking them to step in and raise her friend's baby completely.
When you asked your mother if she would take this baby for an extended period of time, what did your mother say to you?
My mother says she will take the baby with proper documentation.
So she wanted to go through court.
Exactly.
The lies didn't stop there, but the judge's patience sure did. Being denied her ludicrous request led defendant Valencia Carroll to break their television and vandalize her stepfather's car.
What are you trying to do? You want us to take this baby so that you and your friends could go out partying and having a good time?
Number 6. Your fault. This case was won and lost in under a minute. The rest was really just a back and forth for our entertainment.
The rest of the damage was caused by you when you grabbed for the bottle of bleach and it fell over the rest of the clothes that she had piled up in the middle of the floor. That's your fault.
No, it's not my fault.
Defendant Monica Lahai was accused of pouring bleach on her ex-boyfriend's clothes. Her story was that she only intentionally ruined one pair of pants, but that due to him trying to grab the bottle, she accidentally spilled it all over the rest.
He over there acting all just like he ain't want to say nothing now. You know that's exactly what happened too. Didn't nobody pile your...
Listen to me! Where do you think you are? You think you're on Springer? You're not!
The judge contended that either way, it was her fault. Lahai immediately launched back, but as we know, arguing with Shineland never goes well. The plaintiff didn't even have to say much. This defendant lost the case all by herself.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
What about my computer? But what about my computer? What about my computer? But you gonna sit here and let me, you gonna walk away like that? That don't even make no sense.
Number 5. You're a fibber. It's a simple question. Where was defendant Ida Nunez living in May?
I was in Seattle, Washington.
With whom?
Samantha Merritt and my 2 children.
Where were you living in Seattle, Washington in May?
I was living in downtown Seattle.
Nunez had a few different answers. She lived with her friend. Actually, wait, she lived with her mother. Actually, wait, Your Honor. Whatever's best for her case is where she lived in May.
If I may. When I did leave Washington State, I moved in with my mother.
You're a fibber!
I'm a what?
Fibber!
Okay.
Liar!
Slippery as she is, the judge had Nunez pegged as a liar from the get-go, and she didn't even need all the plaintiff's interjections telling her as much. It was obvious that the rest of the case was just going to be the judge burying her in her own lies.
I was going to call you, said, well, I wasn't really living there, I was living with my mother.
Only for a month.
What month?
June.
Clearly she's a liar, Your Honor.
I know.
Number 4. Learn how to behave yourselves. A case from early in the series' run finds the plaintiff's witness sparring with the defendant over some unseemly allegations.
The incident that happened at her house the night before.
What kind of an incident?
Okay, she locked me in her house because she didn't want me to be with her brother.
That's getting too complicated for me.
Even the background of this case was so full of drama, the judge had to stop defendant Ruby Washington from getting in the weeds about who she was dating and how they all knew each other. Already, it had the makings of a soap opera.
She did. No, you had an argument with my boyfriend because he broke your window.
Because you wouldn't get out of my house.
Because you wouldn't put me out.
Hey! Ladies.
The insults and accusations flew and only continued outside the courtroom. To think this all erupted over airline tickets is kind of amazing, considering they hardly got a chance to get into that part of the case at all.
Did you take $714 from him?
No, I did not.
Who paid for the airline tickets?
He did.
Good. Judgment is, in this case, is for the plaintiff for the amount of $714. You people have to learn how to behave yourselves in a court.
Number 3. Objection irrelevancy. The judge opened plaintiff Glenn Hazelton's case against his own mother with a series of questions. These questions were purely for information gathering purposes. Well, Hazelton didn't appreciate the information she was gathering.
Were they physically related? Were they assault cases?
Some. But what does that got to pertain to this case?
Everything pertains to this case.
He asked what his previous arrests for assault had to do with the case at hand. But we think he knew exactly what the pertinence was. This case resolved around him being arrested for theft and assault, after all. Either way, it's obvious Judge Judy touched a nerve with her questions, and he got so heated, he actually told her to dismiss the case.
I'm just talking about this case, Your Honor.
I'm talking about who the
I'm
party...
going to talk about this case at hand. If you don't want to discuss this case, then we can just dismiss it.
Well, ask and ye shall receive. His case was recalled, but it only meant he had to answer the same questions he wanted to dodge before.
You're asking me to reconsider the dismissal of this case, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so then let's get back to where I was questioning you before.
Number 2, Fugazi officer. Usually, a police report is at the end of the story in Judge Judy's courtroom. In this case, it's only the beginning.
That means he's fake. Why would she not be arrested for this, Your Honor?
The person who filled out this form is a police officer in the Hartford Police Department. He's not a fake.
Plaintiff Kylie Jones's heartbreaking story is one of the show's most tragic. According to Jones, her ex-roommate Octavia Canby poured boiling water on her while she slept. For some reason, Canby wasn't arrested.
The only thing that she's consistent about in these reports, even in her altered state, is that you poured boiling water on her.
Jones insisted it was because the police officer who responded and wrote the police report was a fake. Her contention is one of the most confusing things ever heard in Judge Judy's courtroom. It soon came out that the cops didn't take her complaint seriously because she was simply under the influence, and they considered her an unreliable witness.
What she did was terrible.
Yeah.
They didn't take you seriously.
Yeah.
And that is not an excuse for them. But part of the reason they didn't take you seriously is because you were your own worst enemy.
Number 1. Tupperware Lady. When the judge asks a litigant's version of events, she doesn't necessarily require the most entertaining reenactment this side of unsolved mysteries.
And I followed her, and she opened her Tupperware cupboard and forced all of her Tupperware on me like that.
Let me explain something to you. Don't get dramatic with me.
After all, they don't give out Emmys to court show litigants. Someone needs to tell Karina Roy. Forever cemented in the culture as the Tupperware Lady, Roy's testimony is one for the ages. From the jump, Roy was determined to terrorize the courtroom with her theater kid antics.
And when I'm down, she's leaning her whole body into me, pointing her finger in my face. How dare you? Don't you even dare. Shame on you. That's it. I want you out of here. And she hit my head with her finger.
She wanted the judge to know every dramatic nuance of the situation. How else could Judge Judy understand the trauma, the stakes, and the tremendous emotional toll this Tupperware attack had on her?
Looking directly at me and said, hey, the babies, as she's looking at me. And I had not said anything through this whole entire time.
Do you have a favorite Judge Judy case? Let us know in the comments.
Just answer the question.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Ms. Mojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.